Most people think cats always hide when they're sick, but the truth is some of the most dangerous warning signs look completely normal. In fact, many owners miss these behaviors until it's already too late, and by then, the disease has already progressed. Cats evolved to hide weakness. Wild. Looking sick could make them an easy target. That instinct never disappeared. Even indoor cats still try to look fine when something is wrong. That's why paying attention to small behavior changes can literally save your cat's life. And the first one surprises almost everyone. If your cat suddenly stops jumping onto places it normally loves, don't assume it's just being lazy. Cats rarely avoid jumping without a reason. Pain is one of the most common causes. It could be arthritis, joint problems, or even hidden injuries you can't see. Many owners never notice this, because the cat still walks normally. But jumping puts much more pressure on the joints and walking. That's why it's often the very first thing to change. The second warning sign is even easier to miss, because most people think it's actually a good thing. If your cat suddenly starts sleeping much more than usual, pay close attention. Cats already sleep a lot, but there is a difference between normal rest and unusual lethargy. A healthy cat still wakes up quickly, responds to sounds, and stays curious. A sick cat often seems mentally slower, even if it's technically awake. This can happen with infections, kidney disease, or serious internal problems. Now here's the third behavior, and it's one that almost every cat owner has seen before. If your cat suddenly hides in strange places, don't force it to come out. Hiding is sometimes a survival instinct. Cats naturally isolate themselves when they don't feel well, and surprisingly, this behavior often appears before obvious physical symptoms. The fourth behavior is one most people completely misunderstand. It starts with something as simple as grooming. If your cat suddenly stops grooming or starts grooming way too much, both could be warning signs. Cats normally spend hours keeping their fur clean, so a messy coat is never something to ignore. Pain, obesity, or even dental disease can make grooming difficult, but excessive grooming can be just as serious. Sometimes the problem isn't on the skin. It's inside the body. Stress, allergies, or chronic pain can all trigger this behavior. Some cats even lick the same spot until the fur disappears. And owners often think it's just a habit, but habits don't usually leave bald patches. Medical problems often do. Now, let's talk about behavior number 5. And this one can appear overnight. If your cat suddenly becomes unusually aggressive, don't assume it has become mean. Pain changes behavior. Even the sweetest cat can become defensive. Touching an injured area can trigger biting, even from a cat that trusts you. That's why veterinarians always ask one important question: when did the behavior change? Because sudden personality changes are often physical, not emotional. Your cat isn't trying to upset you. It's trying to protect itself. Here's something many owners never notice. Cats often stop playing long before they stop eating. A toy that was exciting yesterday might suddenly become completely uninteresting. That loss of curiosity can sometimes appear before obvious illness. This doesn't always mean something serious, but when it comes with other changes, it deserves attention, because cats rarely give loud warnings. Most of the time, they whisper through behavior. Now, scientists studying cat behavior notice something even deeper. These changes are rarely random. They often follow a pattern, a slow shift in routine, before any physical symptoms appear. This is where the concept of early behavioral signals that becomes important. Cats show problems before they show sickness, and that's exactly what makes them so difficult to read, because nothing looks urgent at first. But when you combine small changes together, a clearer picture starts to form. Less play, more sleep, strange grooming, behavior shifts. On their own, each one seems harmless. Together, they tell a different story. Veterinarians call this behavioral clustering, multiple small signs forming one big warning. This is why experience matters so much. Noticing what others miss can make a huge difference. But here's the key question most owners ask too late: what should I actually look for? The answer isn't one symptom. It's change. Change in appetite, change in energy, change in behavior. Even subtle shifts matter more than dramatic ones, because cats rarely crash suddenly. Now, let's put everything together. What looks like jealousy or moodiness might actually be your cat responding to internal discomfort. not emotions like humans experience. And this is where misunderstanding happens. We interpret behavior emotionally, but cats operate more through instinct and pattern recognition, not human-style thinking. So a weird behavior isn't always emotional. Sometimes it's biological. And this distinction is exactly what scientists emphasize, because it changes how we respond. Instead of reacting late, we learn to observe early. And that's the real power of understanding cat behavior. Prevention instead of reaction. Because once symptoms become obvious, it may already be advanced. So the earlier you notice change, the better chance you have to help your cat. And this is why behavior matters more than people realize. It's the first language of illness. Not every change means danger, but ignoring them can be risky. That's why observation is the most important skill for any cat owner. You don't need to panic over every small behavior. You just need to notice patterns, because patterns tell the real story, not single moments. And once you learn to see those patterns, everything about your cat becomes clearer. So what seems like just behavior might actually be communication you never noticed before.